We're going live if I can get to my buttons. Where's my button? 1, 2, 3. Hey, we made it, didn't we? I'm John Zidar, aka the Stock Wizard. You can call me Wizzy. This is On Top and Hot live. You know, I do this through the week, sharing hot penny stocks with you. Now you're sharing them with, no, not me, with everybody else. I'm just going to do the due diligence. Now, I appreciate those of you who gave me some tickers early. That gives me a chance to do the due diligence early so we can dive right into it. You don't have to watch me scanning a page trying to find what's interesting. But we do have some time, I think, to look at stocks that you are bringing in the show. That is the whole point of this, right? Live DD. So we are going to be taking a look at other stocks besides the one I got lined up. All right. I never know what's going on around here. So let's make sure everything's cool here. Let's get to my comments. Make sure I haven't got anybody saying they can't hear me. Can you hear me, folks? I don't see that you can't. Can you see me, folks? Yeah, we're all good. Let's make sure you can see my picture here. Can you see that? I know it looks horrible. Okay. Mark, we were talking about you, buddy. Me and Belmore were talking about you. Me and I can't remember the other guy's name that you and I were always talking to. He got in touch with me today. He was asking about you. Oh, man, it's nice to have a community, but it's tough keeping in touch with all of you. You know, YouTube goes down. I have no way to reach out to any of you. I can't tell you anything that's going on, good or bad. I hate that. All right. So like I said, I have got a few stocks all lined up. Good to see you too. Anna Rudd. I'm going to call you Jenna. I like Jenna. That works for me. Hello, Belmore. You know, Belmore and I were talking, and since I'm remembering it, and it isn't off my mind right now, you can't see that. Okay. Let me get this over here. All right. This you can see. All right. If I come over here, there you go. You can see that. We were talking about QMMM. Now, I don't know if you caught this the other day, folks, but she was hot. She was down here at about $10 the day before all this activity happened. Now, when we found it, and I mean we on Penny Boys, we found it right. Oh, let me get my line. We found it early in the morning, not pre-market. She had a big jump there pre-market. We found it right here at about $17, I believe it was. Matter of fact, if I bring this down to the 5 minutes, it's a little easier to see. We found it at $17 halted. Now, this stock was halted a lot, many times. And through the day, we were playing it after each halt. Well, after we found it halted at 17, she jumped. She went up to 23. Then she went to 28 after another halt. Then I looked at it. I posted information on Penny Boys. I said, folks, this thing is looking really hot. I think it's going to hit 33 without a problem. Yes, it hit 33. Then it went to 43. Then it went to 53. It just got ridiculous, folks. Now, what I want you to see here, we are looking at a 5-minute chart for the QMM. Folks, QMMM on 5-minute looks like a 15-minute. This is what you normally see, bars sitting on top of the 9-day MA, while the 5-minute and the 1-minute are going crazy, driving us nuts, giving us heart attacks. We're thinking it's crashing. You jump over to the 15-minute and, oh, look, it's all in control. Nothing bad going on. Now, right here, it looked real bad on the 1-minute and the 5-minute, but look, our full bars never came underneath the 9-day MA. Nothing ever came underneath the 9-day MA. It may have poked its foot underneath, but the whole bar never came down underneath. Only the wicks. And once it did this at about $120, it was off and running, folks. It went to $303 all in one day, starting off at $10 the day before. So these stocks, folks, can definitely have some fast runs. And one of the things that really upsets most people is the fact that they feel they're missing out. They get into a stock and maybe you got in at $17 and you sold at $50. Holy cow, that's a great win. That's excellent. But then you saw it go to 200, 300, and all of a sudden you're not feeling so good about your big win. doesn't look so big anymore. First off, you need to quit doing that to yourself. Really. When you win, you win. Don't take the wind out of your own sails. You can't control what happens afterwards. You took a gain, and that's what you were meant to do, and you did it. What you can do, though, is get used to scaling out. If you have some money sitting on the table and you've got shares, 1,000 shares, don't sell all 1,000. Maybe sell 500. Better yet, maybe sell only 100. If it really looks hot, if it's bouncing around with big bounces, you can see it has a lot of volatility, high waves, maybe sell 20, 50 shares, small chunks out of 1,000 shares, and just keep taking chunks as she's climbing so that you've got something. Because I'll tell you what, I can't make it. If it goes from $10 to 300, I'm not going to make it. I cannot hold my stock that long. Somewhere along the line, I'm panicking, thinking I'm going to lose this if I don't sell, and I'm out. But if you scale out, you've got money in your pocket, you feel comfortable, you're not sweating it all because you know you've got some of it. And at some point, you've got all your money back and some profit. Now you can get a little riskier. Now you're working with free shares, if you will. But again, keep selling as she's rising, taking gains as she's going up. Don't ride everything up, folks. That's just plain silly. Okie dokie. I think open is about to pop. Open has been popping. I got out way too early. I got out at 6, but I got in just over $2 on open. And I got in just over 6 and under 7. So I did good. Somebody asked me today, you feel bad getting out at 6? No. I mean, there's a part of me scratching inside like I used to, feeling bad. But you know what? I accomplished what I meant to do. I took gains. I found a stock. I got into it. I got out of it. It all went well. Why should I feel bad because the car I was hitchhiking in keeps going without me? I'm where I want to be. I'm happy. All right, enough of all that. Let's go take a look at some stocks now. Let me get my board up here. Yes, sir. And let's jump on over here to the first one. Yes. All right. Footnotes here. So I remember, and you know, Belmore was first in line today. She normally is. And she brought us a couple of tickers. Both of them were warrants. Now, there's nothing wrong with warrants. Warrants are like stock. You can trade them. Get into them, get out of them anytime you want. Take your gains. No big deal. But warrants have a special feature. They are coupons that you can use in the future to buy shares cheap. And you know the price before you get there. The warrant may say once this stock hits $1, you can buy a share at $1.25. And you say, well, that's no big deal. It's $1. You want me to pay $1.25? Well, no, that's just when it went live. Now you've got 5 years. And you can buy a share anytime in the next 5 years for $1.25. Well, 3 years down the road, it's at $55. What? That's right. And you can buy a share for $1.25. If that's what you choose, that's an option. You don't have to do that. But that's the value that comes onto warrants. That's what people like about warrants. When a stock starts to rise, warrants get more value. It's not about how many warrants there are. You know, with stock, it's how many shares are there. We've got to divide that into the fundamentals, blah, blah, blah. No, we have no float with warrants. Yeah, there is a set number, but we don't care what that number is. The big thing you have to worry about with warrants, one, is liquidity. You're not going to have steady trading on them. When it gets hot, take your gains. When it does move, make sure you're selling for what you think you're selling for. It'll go from 2 cents to 10 cents. Yes, it will. And you'll have 500% profit right there. Boom. And you go to sell and it sells for 2 cents. Why? Because the bid didn't go up, just the ask. The ask went up and the bid never moved. It's going to take 2 or 3 more bids to pull that bid up closer to 10. Probably won't go all the way to 10. It'll go to 5, 6, or 7, somewhere in there, which will be good gains for you. But make sure you're watching that ask in the bid. There was something else I wanted to say. It'll come to me here in a minute. Warrants are normally always penny stocks. They're a lot cheaper than the stock is. We're looking at SLXNW. And what were those key features? This is the biotech working with cancer drugs. They just had big news come out, and they also have a little offering. They're putting more shares on the market, which isn't a real big deal. So the company, SLXN, they were up today about 8%, just under $5, just about ready to leave Penniesville. Now, when we jump on down to the warrant, it's up 27%. So it went up more than the stock. And that is normally what happens, not always, but normally. But normally it's a much bigger spread. If the stock goes up 20%, you could get 70, 80, 100% out of the warrant, 200, 300, 500% out of the warrant. Oh, yes, you can. Absolutely. So when you see a stock that has big news and is running on the charts and it's on the major exchange, you don't find warrants on the OTC normally. Go see if they have a warrant. That could be the play for the day. Get in at 2 cents, it goes to 8 cents. Oh my God, you just made 400% gains. But remember, when you buy something cheap, if it falls, you buy it 2 cents, it falls to 1 cent, you just lost 50% of your investment. You got to be cautious with that sort of stuff. So the warrant finished today at just over 4 cents. She was up 27.25%. She was up almost a penny today, almost a penny. And of course, she's on the NASDAQ alongside her parent stock. Now, this is what you're looking at for the chart. She had a nice strong run today and popped. Let's see what else we can learn here. Okay, what we need to know is what was the catalyst for this company. We don't need to know the float. We don't even need to know how many shares were sold today. That's got nothing to do with our warrants. Warrants are not like stock. You're not going to follow. Volume is important, but only off and on. Lots of volume is rarely the case. You'll get tens of thousands of shares, maybe hundreds of thousands of shares. You'll be darn lucky if you ever see millions of shares moving on a warrant. That's just not the way they work unless it's a SPAC. You may get a million shares moving on a SPAC because the stock don't move on a SPAC. Only the warrant moves in most cases. So let's take a look at our catalyst. News. Dun, 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 dun. I got no news here. So let me go over here. Let's see if the news pops up over here because I know there's news. You don't want to give me the news here. All right, so we're going to come over here and get the news. SLXN. This is Stock Titan. This is my source of news, folks. I used to use a lot of different sites, but I use this one now. Give me a break. This is watched over by AI, and they have a screener that comes on it, which is something I use all day long as well. It's a very good screener. There we go, SLXN. SLXN is a clinical stage biotechnology company specializing in the development of RNA interference therapies for cancers. All right, so we've got a couple pieces of news that came out here in the last 7 days. The company announced selection of a contract research organization to support their upcoming phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials for their SIL-204. This is their drug that they're moving right now that is catching attention, that is helping, I do believe, with, metastatic. I think I actually have this over here that I can share with you. Oh, it's gone. Bloody heck. I actually had a piece of news over here that had this all lined out for you. But I can tell you that they have a drug that you inject into the body, and it finds these tumors that have moved. Pretty much from the pancreatic cancer, it moves to other places. Let's see here. The study demonstrated that the subcutaneously administered SIL-204 successfully reached major pancreatic cancer metastatic sites and showed anti-tumor activity. Key findings include the successful drug distribution to the liver, peritoneum, and the lung following a single injection. So that was the news today, that they've got a drug that can actually find these tumors where they're at in difficult places after they move away from the pancreatic cancer, which has been a big problem. So that was the primary reason this stock was running today. Now, the other piece of news is they did a public offering here, or they're doing a public offering for $6 million. They're going to get $6 million. We get 1.5 million more shares added to the market, which means we have a little bit of shareholder dilution. I'm not quite sure what that dilution is. Let's see here. Whoa. Well, first off, they had to do it. The company did a reverse stock split some time ago, and they've only got less than 1 million shares outstanding. You cannot have less than 1.5 million in the float, and you can't have more in the float than you have outstanding. So right now we have less than $1 million in the float. They had to get that up to at least 1.5 million. All they did was add 1.5 million more shares. That's it. So yeah, they did really kick this up, but folks, that's too low. It was not supposed to be that low. So they put it up, and now we're at about a little over 2 million shares, which is a super duper low float for the company, which is going to be very enticing for people to be trading the stock itself. Disclosures. Were there any disclosures over here? Bloody heck, I thought I had disclosures over here too. Let me see what my notes said here. Big news, little offerings. Okay, I got no filings. I know I was looking at this earlier, I had more information. So that's what you got going on. Now we got to go look at the warrant for SLXN. Are you following me? You are. Put a W behind that. And we'll get rid of that. Okay. So let's kick this back 1 year, just so we get an idea of what it's been doing over the last year. Sideways activity. All right, she's bouncing around. We are going between these two bubbles, basically, from about a penny and a half to 11 cents. That's a big gap. That's a wild gap. But as you can see, it's been narrowing down. It's been getting tighter and tighter as she's been coming down through here. But we've been getting some big jumps, and the jumps are getting bigger. Now, what stands out here to me is we've got a brand new 200 MA right there. That 200 MA has got a lot of data in it, and that's what investors trust, is data. So the price jumped from down here up to the 200 where it belonged. Now we're going to have to watch it to see what it does. But the best thing to do is come down to the charts that have all the MAs on them. Check out our 6-month, 4-hour. So what we've got going on here is a downtrend that is trying to change trend with the new data that's come into the picture. We have had a breakout here, and it was a 200 squeeze, but a little early. Our 200 haul on the bottom hasn't even turned up. Looks like it's going to happen right the very next minute. The very next minute, this thing looks like it'll turn blue and be going up. The price is in between the 200 MA, the 200 haul, on top of the 50. That normally gives it a burst of energy. What do we see there, folks? A burst of energy. Once it got up on top of the 50, you can see she's climbing slowly, but once she got there, ignition to and through the 200. And you'll hear me say that over and over and over again, because a 200 squeeze does that. That is exactly what it does. When the price gets on top of the 50, in between the two 200s, it will blast off to and through the 200 MA. Now, once it does that, expect it to come back. It just burned up all of its fuel. It was a long run getting to the 200. Bam, had to break through that brick wall like Kool-Aid and then run even further. It's tuckered out. So it comes back down to refuel. Now, normally it'll come down to the 200, but it could come down underneath to the next MA. Now, we can't see one here on the 4-hour chart, but there may be one on the 1-hour chart. All of our oscillators are definitely heating up, right? All of our volume is kicked up. Our PPO, percentage price oscillator, which is one of my favorites. It's a lot like your MACD, but it uses a percentage of the price, where the MACD uses the whole price. The reason I use them both is the MACD likes to show me, what the heck am I thinking of? The word escapes my mind. When the chart is going the opposite direction of the technicals, when they are diverging, there's the word divergence. When they're going the opposite direction, the technicals and the price should always be going the same way. When they go opposite, that tells you a reversal is about to come. Maybe a bad one, maybe a good one, but you can tell by how the divergence sets up. You don't normally get divergences with the PPO, but you do get them with the MACD. RSI is clear up there at 65. Coming on down to our 20-day 1-hour view. There's our low of just about 2.5 cents up on top of the 50, and then she bursted up on top of the 200. Now, she's just moved up a paradigm. She's just jumped from one strong MA up to another strong MA. She's still on top of her 9-day, looking like she's sitting. Doesn't look like she's falling. All of our other MAs are climbing and pushing up, giving her some strength. All of our oscillators are cooling off a wee bit. They're all rolling down just a hint, not enough to cause a panic. Coming down to that 1 day, 1 minute. Let's just see what's happening. She's going sideways. Definitely going sideways. We got a high here of 9 cents from 3 cents. So even though she's going sideways, she's doing it with some big jumps. We're looking at almost 300% run right there from pre-market to about 10 in the morning. Then she came back down, and she is underneath that basic line for the day with our MAs coming down. So right now, the warrant looks like it's falling. And that's the thing with warrants. Warrants aren't going to act like stocks. You can't read the charts the same way. As a matter of fact, I'll be honest with you, folks. I do not read charts for warrants the same way I read charts for stocks. If I came over here and I was looking at the SLNX, just the company itself, hold on. SLNX, yeah. If I was looking just for that, I would be looking at my MAs. I would be watching the chart more closely. But with warrants, not so, folks. Warrants don't really follow the charts. They follow the volume. And the volume follows the heat of the parent stock. So when SLXN moves, that's when you can expect the warrant to move. The warrant isn't going to do jack diddly until the stock does. And the stock needs to be hot. It needs to be hot. And when you see your volume come in, don't take your eyes off of that warrant, because it's going to jump quick and it could jump right back down. And the last thing I'm going to say, I'm going to remind you of it. Make sure to look at the ask and the bid. Before you sell, make sure you look at the ask and the bid and you're getting the price you think you're getting. I have done this before and sold it for exactly what I bought it for because it just never moved. And I thought I was getting 500% gains. All right. Let me get a drink, come back here, see what you guys are talking about, see who's joined the party. Me has joined. You ought to see my hair now, man. My hair is about shoulder length. Me. Oh, I know who that is. Oh, John, what? Uh-oh, what's that? John, can't you please put the website where you get the news, please? Oh, I thought you were going to say you couldn't hear me or something. First, let me get rid of that. Boink. I know that's killing you. Let me get rid of that. Where I get my news. I just showed you, right? I get my news from Stock Titan right here. StockTitan.net. Now, they have free and they have paid for. I think free has a 15-second delay. Yeah. 15-second delay. Paying for it, I think it's a couple $100 a year or something like that. But you can use it absolutely free. Everything I use it for, you can use it for with a 15-second delay. Now, agreed. When you're using a scanner, a 15-second delay does make a difference. But we're scalpers. We're not looking for the absolute lowest, cheapest price. We're looking for a stock that's moving. We're looking for a stock that's proven to us is going in the direction we want, and we're going to jump in somewhere and catch a portion of that move. That's all we're doing. We're momentum traders. We're primarily looking for stocks moving and just grabbing a piece out of the center. We don't care where it started. We don't usually care how far it's going to go. We just want something. Now, a lot of people who are new traders have a problem getting into a stock after they've gotten out of it if it's more expensive. They have a hard time buying more when it's climbing if they have to pay more than their original purchase. Folks, it doesn't matter what you pay. What matters is it climbing from where you got in? You're always making gains on your cheap purchase or your more expensive purchase. If it's going up, you're making gains on both. So don't let this sort of thinking confound you. Moving stocks in your direction are worthy of getting into, whatever the price. Just make sure to sell before it starts to fall. I sell on green bars. If you're waiting for red bars, you're probably losing money putting in the order because it's falling as you're typing. I sell on green bars because it's rising as I'm typing. All right, let's go take a look at another ticker now. I have one coming to us from, oh, this came from one of my YouTube viewers. I think, is that Perilous or Paralyze? I don't know. But they want me to look at SHOT, and SHOT was hot today, kind of. It had some big news. That's what it had. It had some great news. Shot, let's get that up here on the board. Shot is the world's first, and as far as I know, only uh, alcohol blood reducer on the market. They also just came out with big news, like a lot of companies are doing now. They are going into a crypto strategy. And I'll tell you what, folks, I'm a little bothered by this. Every single company now is getting into crypto, and they're not just holding crypto as treasury, something to gain when the cryptos go up. No, they're creating strategies. They're staking. They're doing all sorts of things. They're making new deals with other companies with the cryptos they've got. I wasn't following crypto. Crypto was an entirely different market. Now, all of a sudden, I've got to pay attention to crypto. What the heck is a Dogecoin? What the heck is a Boink? I don't know what these coins are, and I have no clue. Now I better find out if I want to be into these companies, because they're not just what they used to do. They're now doing that plus crypto. And that's what Shot is all about now. Disclosures, they've got lots of them, and they are basically all about the news and their offering. They've got a public offering as well. So let's take a look here. Let's start with the relative volume for Shot. A little bit down. She did almost what she's been doing over the last 30 days, about 7 million, 7.5 million. Not a lot of shares, especially for the kind of news she had today. Looking at the share structure, outstanding share count is about 145 million. I don't know what the insiders own, so I can't tell you what the float's going to be. Subtract that, and that would give us our float. What I can say is that the float is never higher than the outstanding share count, so it's not going to be any worse than 145 million, and it could be a lot less depending how many shares the insiders own. Market cap, we're at about 57 million. Is Shot making any money? They are, but it's not pretty. 4 years ago, and this is all theirs, I was worried that this company hadn't been around this long, but they have. They came onto the market, used to be Jupiter Wellness back in October of 2020. That's when Shot came into the picture. So this is all their revenues. Whatever they were doing back then, they had let's call it $3 million worth of revenue, but pretty much gave it all out. They only got to keep about $500,000 of that. And then over the next couple of years, they were making just a little bit of money and losing a little bit of money. Now they're making about $700,000 and losing a lot of money. $700,000 revenue, and they lost $2.4 million. How do you stay in business like that, for God's sake? Quarterly, it's getting worse. We started off a year ago at 710,000. We have fallen down to 42,000. We know it's thousands because of those 3 zeros we got to add to any of the numbers, right? And their profit margin, well, they got to keep about 50%. But they're not keeping much, and they're not making much right now, which isn't very exciting at all. Balance sheet for the company. We got about $500,000 in the bank, cash and cash equivalents. Total assets, about 42 million. Total liabilities, at least that's down, about 19 million. So we are holding stockholder equity in this company. They're not making very much money, but we, the investors, get about 23 million in stockholder equity. So what's got this stock running today? Well, they had news of two things. One, Safety Shot launches Bonk Holdings to build treasury in 2.5 billion Bonk ecosystem. I have no idea what a Bonk is. Today, the company announced a major step in its strategic evolution with the formation of Bonk Holdings LLC, a new subsidiary created to house its digital asset strategy. The company now holds over 2.5% of the total circulating supply of Bonk, valued at approximately $55 million. The company's strategy for its Bonk treasury will extend beyond simple accumulation. Bonk Holdings plans to actively manage its digital assets by participating in the Solana DeFi ecosystem through activities such as staking, providing liquidity, and yield farming. I hope you understood what I just said. I know the words I read, but I'm not quite sure what all that means. That's what I mean now. I knew they had a drink that was pretty much just dealing with alcohol. This is a drink that used to be a big one, about the size of a Pepsi, and you would have to consume the whole thing. Well, when you got a hangover, there's a lot of people that don't want to swallow anything. Some people drink Pepsi, some not much of anything. Now they've shrunk it down to a little tiny bottle like those 5-hour power drinks, and they do the same thing. They put them up on the counters now. That's their advertising, not up on the shelves, hidden in the aisles or back in the cooler. Nope, right there in front of you when you're buying your cigarettes or your Pepsi or your candy bar or whatever you need for your hangover. You're going to see it right there on the counter. And what are the chances you're going to buy it when you have a hangover? Yeah, you're going to pick it up, maybe a couple of them, right? Bink. So that's what they're selling right now. That's their only product. I don't know of any other product. And now they've got Bonk as well. And let me see. I think there was one other piece of news I wanted to share with you here. Look, see what I mean? It says no news available. Where is my news? Let me see if I go. Oh, that is not fair. Not fair at all. So I think maybe I can get this over here. All right. So this piece of news right here is about Bonk. Securities purchase agreement. No, this isn't. I had it backwards. All right, so they've got some shares, aggregate purchase price of $25 million. All right, so they've got somebody who has entered into a securities purchase agreement with Lucky Dog Holdings, a company founded by Mr. Rudy, and looks like, trying to see who's buying who here. Paid for by Bonk tokens. So here we go, folks. And this is what we're going to start noticing. Tokens have value, and you can use them as collateral. You can use them to purchase things, just like your shares. You know, a lot of companies use their shares for deals, all stock transaction, no cash at all. Well, they're going to now have stock to work with, cash to work with, crypto to work with, and they're going to be able to make all sorts of deals. And it looks like we got a deal going on right here for $25 million. Whole bunch of new shares coming into the picture, some preferred B shares, some preferred C shares. There's a lot of stock right there. And let's see here. This is all about stock. All of this is about stock. Yeah, there's another 10 million shares. NASDAQ up, price of common stock. Last reported. All right, this, are they reselling this? I just want to make sure this is a resale. I don't think it is. Again, paid for by Bonk tokens. All right, I'm not quite. This is going to really confuse me. So we've got about 10 million more shares here. I'm presuming these are new shares being bought by Bonk. I don't know how Bonk does that. Let's see here. I'm going back to our share structure. What did we have here? 144 million, add another 10 million, 150 million. All right, so it's not a big dilution. It's not a big dilution, but I think this sort of information is going to take time to digest. I think there's a lot of people like me, honestly, who don't have a full grasp of how tokens and crypto are going to change the stock market. It's changing the companies. We're going to have to learn more than just what we know. And I feel a little out of the loop right now. I don't like that. All right. I do believe it's time to go take a look at the chart for SHOT. Got this opened up to a 15-minute. Let's drag this back to a year. Ooh, lots of lines up there. I can get rid of these lines for us so we can see this a little easier. Hopefully I remember to put them back up because it takes time to draw every single one of them. I need a program that does that. So over the last year, we started at $1.77. No reverse stock splits here. We were at that September of last year. Been in a downtrend ever since. Hit a low of 23 cents in June of this year. Off of that low, she jumped. Now, it looks like she jumped pretty bloody quick. There was no sideways activity. I find that as a good sign. When you have an immediate bounce off of a low bubble, it normally means the company has value, because there's shoppers out there that look for low bubbles. These are for sale signs as far as they're concerned if the company has value. So they'll run and check out the fundamentals. If there's value to be found, they'll buy it. They're just going to cash in on it coming back to where it should be. Forget about climbing. Just go back to where you should be. And this started to climb immediately off of that low bubble from 23 cents, ultimately hitting $1.35. Steady climb. The only time she really slowed down is when she got over that 200. And I told you, when you break out over the 200 the first time, there is normally a pull back. You got to refuel somewhere. And it didn't even come all the way down to the 200 and kept on going, just laying on that 9-day MA until it wasn't. Then it came all the way back down underneath everything. It is now underneath every single MA and has to start this process all over again. And at this point in time, this doesn't look very strong to me. Come on down to our 6-month 4-hour view. Doesn't look a whole lot better. Looking at where we're sitting now, we are getting set up for a 200 squeeze. That's what you get anytime the stock falls and starts to roll back up. You get your setup with the price in between two 200s. But I'll bet you don't have the 200 haul, do you? No, you don't. All you got to do is go over to your tools and ask for haul, Hull, and then set it for 200. And you've got your 200 haul. And I'm telling you, folks, this is a friendly 200. This will help your price to move. Not that you will have to do anything, but when you see right now, when that 200 turns blue, as soon as it turns up, I have it change colors, that's going to give strength to this price. It will push up. Once it gets on top of that 50, it now has a solid floor to push off of, to launch off of, and it will push to and through the 200 MA. Right now, we're down here at about 40 cents. That's up there at 65 cents. Yeah, I can see that jumping that far. Absolutely. So this is setting up right now. It's a little cool. We don't have a whole lot of heat on the board, but it's in place. What's the heat? Volume. Bring in that volume, get that fire going, and we should see this thing start to rise. 20-day 1 hour, downtrend from 75 cents to a low here of 37 cents, which we hit today. Today we hit that low, and she has not bounced off of that one very quickly, has she? Nope. She came right back up to level land, and she is just going sideways here on our 200 haul. So we are still in a 200 squeeze. It's a weak one. We need it to get strong. What's strong? When the 200 haul turns up and the price gets on top or above the 50. That's a strong 200 squeeze that you can expect to, right, go to and through the 200. I'm beating that into you, aren't I? Coming on down to the 5-day, 5-minute. So she's actually going downhill. We've had some pops here. We had a nice jump here from about a low of 35 cents up to 44 cents, and we've come down. But look here. We got a big pop right there at 7 in the morning. Big pop right there at, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. Here's another one at, that one's 8 in the morning. Pre-market, we are getting our biggest jumps at all different times, but there's your biggest jumps. They're happening pre-market if you happen to be awake at that time of day. And then through the day, God only knows what's going to happen. She has been all over the place, pretty much hanging around this meandering 200. The 200 right now is level. It's actually gone level right now. Right there, she is actually level. You've got your 9-day coming up, your 20 falling, your 200 haul falling. It's a mixed bag right now. The only thing that's going to change this is volume. Volume has to come in. She has a chance of running. She has a chance of taking off and doing some good pushing. I would watch her early in the morning, pre-market, and then after the bell. But without the volume, I don't see a whole lot in this. And the sad thing is, I own this. Yeah, I've got this. I've had this not for too long. I got it sometime this year. I don't remember when. All right, let me come on back, visit with y'all. Get that out of your face. Put this into your face. Hi. What's going on down here? Jesse Brazil. Rolls-Royce Class C Series. What do you think? Class C. Class C Series. Are they on the market? Only supposed to sell Class A, aren't we? I think so. Anyways, Rolls-Royce, I've been talking about for years. Rolls-Royce is on the OTC, I believe it is, because it is a foreign company. But this is a company that makes the biggest jet engines in the world. The biggest, the absolute largest, and they sell most of them to China. And they make lots of money. They do lots of business. And the stock has been so cheap. For so many years, so cheap. And here recently, one of my friends or my brother-in-law who I got into trading was telling me that Rolls-Royce was starting to move. And it's like, really? Finally? Oh my God, it's been so long, because it is a real company. No, they don't make the cars anymore, but they do make engines, big ones. Thanks for being here, Jesse. I appreciate you, buddy. And I will check that out. We'll check that out later when I've got some time. Oh, who else is here? America returned. Way less people drinking, maybe market as a dual combo with health benefits. Yeah, a lot less people drinking, but there's still as many drinking still. It's the new generation, right? It's the millennials, it's the Z generation, the X generation, the G generation, whatever letters they got. It's the younger folks. The younger folks ain't much into drinking like the older folks were. They didn't have a whole lot of options. There weren't a lot of drugs back then. Booze was the only thing, so everybody was doing booze. Then came the 60s and the 70s where you started getting options. You started getting drugs and booze, and people started mixing them. And now we've got a lot of these drugs getting legalized one way or the other in a lot of different countries, including America. And booze, well, it's always been there, but it's a market because hangovers come along with booze. So, okay, let's see. Zone news. Yeah, I looked at Zone a couple times today. Actually, I did post news for it. Can't remember what that news was. All right. Just making sure everything is kosher over here. I'm going to get rid of that. Yes, sir. And we will go take a look at another stock. This is one that I got to do some pre-DD on. This one comes from VI. Oh, this was somebody on Twitter. I wasn't getting enough requests over here on YouTube. Matter of fact, let me see something here. Twitter. Is it that right there? It is. You see that, folks? I put this up on Twitter. I've never been on Twitter before. So I guess anybody in Twitter right now can go watch this. You don't have to come to YouTube to watch it. You can watch it right there at Twitter. Woohoo! I'm spreading my wings. I'm getting out there now, folks. I'm on 2 big media sites. Wow. All right. So we're coming back down to where we going? NWBO. NWBO. I got this from Twitter. I requested them to give me some tickers because I wasn't getting any over here at YouTube. So this one came from VI. This is Northwest Biotherapeutics, another cancer drug company. They just acquired some more intellectual property. We're talking about patents. And their disclosures, they just released their earnings. So NWBO, as I said, they do work with cancer drugs. The company is a biotechnology company focused on developing personalized immunotherapy products that are designed to treat cancers more effectively than current treatments. The company has a broad platform technology for DCVax dendritic cell-based vaccines. The company's lead program involves DCVax cell treatment for glioblastoma. I do believe glioblastoma, isn't that a brain cancer? I may be wrong. I'm not a doctor, but I think that's brain cancer. So it's another type of cancer. NWBO finished today at 25 cents. She was down 1% today, which was, well, about 1/5 of a penny. She is on the middle tier of the OTC. You got the OTC Pinks, which they now call the ID. You have the OTC QB, which is the middle tier, and you have the OTC QX, which is the top tier. The Pinks, for the most part, it's the ghetto. Doesn't mean everybody that lives there is a criminal, but it is the ghetto. Then you have the QB, which is your middle class. Here you have to start giving us financials. The Pinks don't give us any information. We get very, very little information except hype, except news presses. Up here, we start getting financials that are audited. We start getting filings. Your price has to be at least a penny to be on the QB. The QX are the best of the best on the OTC. They have all the filings that you get on the major exchange. And most of the companies there are only there because they can't get on the major exchange. Not because they've done anything wrong, but because they don't qualify. They may be a foreign company like Nintendo, EasyJet, L'Oreal, Budweiser, all of these companies, Nike, they're huge, but they're not on the major exchange. They're on the OTC because they don't have any offices here in America, plain and simple. So what was the relative volume around this company today? Way down there, about half of what she's been doing. She's normally doing about 3.7 million over the last 30 days. Today she's got 1.3 million. Share structure, yikes, bloody hell, 1.5 billion shares. That's a lot of shares, considering that they've only got 1.7 billion in the authorized shares. That is the amount of shares they have total. They can't put any more on the market than that. Once they put all those on the market, they're broke. They have no more equity. All the equity is out to us. They have to keep some behind for themselves to deal with, maybe make deals with. So we've only got 200 million shares left. So they've put most of their shares on the market, which isn't surprising. Research and development companies like biotechs spend a lot of money, and they're not making any money. They got no products yet. They're paying for all their research. They're paying for all their studies, all their phase trials. This costs millions and millions of dollars. Where do they get that money? From us. It's the only place, the little investors and the big investors. Market cap right now, we are at about $382 million for this company. Financials. No, they don't have any products. They're not making any money in that sense of the word, but they are making some revenues. I believe this is coming from licensing rights from IP, but I don't know that for fact. But that is revenues too, and they don't have to pay anything for that, so they get to keep every single dollar. At the end of 2024, they had 1.3 million come in. Quarterlies, wow. Well, holy cow, look at the jumps here. Man, already a year ago, we had $2.8 million. Is this right? No, that's a balance sheet. I knew something was wrong there. Something was wrong there. That was way too much jump in money. Right. A year ago, we were at $500,000. She has been falling. Right now, we're at 131,000. But again, they're not selling anything, so this is probably licensing rights. Somebody's paying them to use some of their IP. Balance sheet. Now we'll look at it. Yeah. All right, so the balance sheet has actually grown over the last 40 years. 44 years. Cash and cash equivalents, we're at about 4.3 million in the bank. Total assets, about 30 million. Total liabilities, egads. Well, I'm not surprised. 111 million, which means we, the stockholders, are holding over 100 million in stockholder deficit. Whew. Not a good company to be hanging on to right now, folks. Disclosures for the company. We got lots of them. We got a bunch of disclosures there and a bunch of filings down here. Now, this is nice. They are on the OTC. They don't have to do 10Ks, but they're doing 10Ks here. We got a 10Q that just came out about a month ago, and some shares. Or is this a meeting? And some shares. 17 million more shares. Yeah, looks like brand new shares. So those are being thrown on too. Wow. So they're just adding more and more shares. I don't know how far along they are in their trials, folks. That is the big thing here. So when I looked at their news, I was trying to see where they were. All of this news is about everything else but the drug. The closest piece of news I could find about their drug is all the way back here in June. Northwest Biotherapeutics announces exclusive in-license of portfolio of dendritic cell technology and intellectual property. I do believe I actually had something I wanted to share out of this with you. The company, let's see here, has a portfolio of dendritic cell technologies and intellectual property. The technologies are already in phase 2 clinical trials. The license is the culmination of more than 2 years of discussions and negotiations. These licenses include 5 new patent families that were just filed in 2023, so they're going to get the full life expectancy out of this. So they got a bunch of new patents, and the patents are covering drugs that are already into phase 2. Phase 2 is efficacy. Phase 1 is safety. Is your drug safe? Is it going to kill anybody? Is it going to give them chronic hiccups or diarrhea? That normally takes 6 months, a year, 2 years, something like that. It's real short. Once you get through that, it's efficacy. Does your drug work for what you say it does? That can take up to 3 to 5 years. Then you pit your drug against everybody else in phase 3. That can take 3 to 8 years, depending how much competition there is. If there's no competition, you get fast track designation, orphan drug designation, because there's no drugs out there. You can get through this a lot quicker. But from start to finish, it's going to take at least 5 years to get a drug on the market. And that's a lot of money that they've got to get from investors. So I normally don't get into R&D, research and development, biotechs, because it's a long wait. And when news comes out, there will be a jump. You'll see a jump in that price, and it'll be a nice one, but it'll come right back down because it's got years to go before anything's on the market. Was there any other news here? There was. They just lost their senior vice president. He passed away. Obviously, they replaced him. And then Northwest announced an agreement to acquire Advent Bioservices, which is more patents. They're getting more IP brought in. So they've got a lot of patents, and patents protect their knowledge, their intellectual property, so nobody else can use it for a certain amount of years. Once that time is up, everybody can use it. So this was one more deal. So they've got a lot of IP. They are moving ahead into phase 3 of this trial, coming out of phase 2, but that's going to be a while. That's off on the long horizon as far as I'm concerned. Disclosures, we've already gone through them, so let's go take a look at this chart. Ooh, all right, let's try a year. Let's go all the way back. Yeah, I was looking at this a while ago. This was back January, at the beginning of the year. I was looking at this. Looked like she was having an uptrend that day. There we go. All right, so we have been in a downtrend until we hit this low bubble of 16 cents. Though she did pop up, she fell right back down, came real close to that low again, down to 17.5 cents, and then took off. And that was a big run from 17 cents up to 47 cents. She ripped, and then she tipped right back down to the 200. 200 is falling, so there's no way she can really stay above it. You do not see breakouts on falling 200s. Maybe 1 out of 100. Seriously, folks, it's that rare. Now, this looked like it was a solid breakout. This is a daily chart. So that's 1, 2, 3 bars. And then she came crashing down. And it took a while to come down. And I am really surprised that she stayed up there that long. So she went up to 47 cents, came back down, and she just trickled downhill until we hit a low here of 22 cents, and she stuck it out right there until she bounced here recently from 22 cents up to 37 cents, and we're right back down again underneath that 200. All of our oscillators right now are just planed out. They're just going sideways. Not a lot of heat to talk about. Take a look at our 6-month, 4-hour view. Again, it's pretty much the same thing. A droop down, a pop up, and going sideways. This is like a mini one of these, right? It's like exactly the same thing, just mini. Now, do we see anything we can read here? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel? All of our oscillators are pretty flat and actually starting to droop down a little bit. Our price is sitting on top of the 200 haul, which is a good place to be, but she's underneath the 9. Which is not a good place to be. You can't climb unless you're on top of the 9. Let's see what our shorter time frame says. Let's come on down to our 10-day, 30-minute. All right, so there was our rip. We went from 23 cents to 36 cents, back down to the 200, which is exactly where she started from. So she really mines the 200. She's underneath that 200, pretty much hanging on to it like a magnet. She's not going anywhere. And now, right now, we have got a perfect 200 squeeze setup, right? 200 MA, 200 haul, price sitting on top of the 50. All we need is that 200 haul to start turning up, and this should get a bolt of lightning up its butt and take off to and through that 200 haul. Let's take a look at our 5-day, 5-minute. She's been falling for a few days here, hit that low, and she's pretty much locked up here. Now, she has actually gotten on top of our 200 here. That's what all this volatility is. She is fighting, trying to get on top of it and stay on top of it. And right now, she's done it. Right now, she has gotten there. Boink, boink, boink. We have lots of bounces right on top of this 200. Now, all of our other MAs have got to shuffle. They've got to come around. So we're going to watch this. Hopefully, our solid bar does not come under the 200, only our wicks. And if we get a wick that goes deep, real deep, expect a big push off of that. If the wick goes down and comes right back up to the 200, I would be looking for a climb right after that. But at this very moment, and for a while, NWBO hasn't been hot. She's had a bounce here and there, but nothing I'd be wanting to wait around for. So I need a drink. I need a pause. You bet. Vaisha Tangri. Is that VI? Is that VI? Everybody's got different names in different places. John, you're so entertaining to watch and listen. Am I? I feel like I'm stuttering and bumbling around. I'm drooling. I do drool. You just don't see it. Okay. DGXX is a good look. If you didn't see my first post, they got their Blackwell chips 2 months ago. They will not be a penny stock for long, John. DGXX. Okay, we're going to keep that one in the back here. The oldest man alive. How old do you think I am? You know, I just turned 50. 13 years ago. I absolutely did. So I don't want to hear this stuff. All right, I think, let me see. Was that all of them? Yeah, that is all the stocks that I had prepared to share. So now we are going to dive in to what you guys have here. So let me back up. Lots of stuff here. Boy, I'm glad to see you guys talking with each other. I am happy to see that. All right, Kashera. Kashera, I am happy to look at yours. I haven't seen Kashera for a long time. Kashera used to follow me all the time. She should probably get one of those badges like Velmore's got over at YouTube. Velmore got a badge for being a #1 fan. She's first in line every day. She better be my #1 fan. Kashera would be a #1 fan too. Mark Ryan would be a #1 fan. Where's Underdog? We're missing the Underdog today. All right, so let's go take a look at ATCH. Let's get this out of the way. Bring this up. ATCH. This sounds vaguely familiar. Atlas Clear Holdings finished today at 25.5 cents, up 23 cents. What is this company about? Well, she's on the New York Stock Exchange, which gives you all those benefits, right, of being on a major exchange. No transaction fees. You get to trade at pre-market, aftermarket. Can't do that with OTC. Lots of money and volume on the major exchange, and a lot more rules than the OTC, which keeps our investment safe. That's why I like penny stocks in the major exchange instead of the OTC. So ATCH, Atlas Clear, focuses on operating as a technology-enabled financial service firm. It creates a platform for trading, clearing, settlement, and banking of financial products with a focus on the small and middle market financial service firms. There you go. They are based out of the United States, Florida. What was the relative volume around this company today? She's down about 30%, dropping from 24 million as an average over the last 30 days to 16 million. Share structure, very good. Outstanding share count is just under 16 million. I don't know what the insiders own, but I presume they own something. Subtract that, that'll give us our float. I'm going to presume it's going to be less than 16 million. And even if it isn't, 16 million is not a bad float. Anything under 100 million is decent. Anything under 25, I consider a low float. Anything under 10 is a low float. So that is right in my ballpark. Market cap, real low. We're down there at 3.2 million. Financials for Atlas Clear. Dun, 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 dun. We got nothing. Not on the annuals. How about quarterlies? Yes, we do. All right. Last year, we were at 1.2 million. Jumped up to 2.7 million the next quarter, added 100,000, lost 100,000, dropped 200,000. So now we are at 2.5 million, which is basically double what we were doing last year. Very good. And we've basically doubled our profits as well. We're at 2.2 million when we made 2.5 million. Wow, that's a great profit margin there. Balance sheet for the company. Remembering those 3 zeros, we got $7.8 million in the bank, $55 million in total assets, $69 million in total liabilities. So we are holding a little bit of deficit, about $14 million. And let's check out those disclosures. Well, we got an 8K, which is a material change a month ago. Really don't even need to look. Something to do with directors, officers. They're changing management. So I'm going to jump out of that. So let's take a look at the news. That's not the news. That's the news. What do we got here? All right, we got news. New to the street client Atlas Clear Holdings expands business lines and prepares for a timely 10K filing. Expansion of business lines, 10K filing. Dawson James announced investment partnership, 825. Is there any news to be had here? I don't think this is going to actually give us any freaking news. The report will highlight meaningful advances, particularly in stock loan, which evolved from being immaterial in 2024 to approximately 12% of their revenue in 2025, rising to 15% in July. The accelerating growth positions us to leverage our fintech partnership with Lockbox, creating a transparent, scalable, revenue-generating business line that strengthens our leadership in securities lending innovation. And they have paid down more than $21.25 million in assumed debt. So they are making headway. We don't have a whole heck of a lot of information here, but their financials are looking good. They've got a low float. They're doing business, so things are looking pretty decent here. What we need to know is what's the chart doing. Let's go see. ATCH. Oh, I forgot to put my lines down. Doggone it. That's okay. I'll remember later. So we are looking at ATCH, Atlas Clear Holdings. Let's pull this back to a year. Too many lines. Let's get rid of all those lines. All right, so I don't see any reverse stock splits. The price, I guess, is okay. We've got a high, what is this? November of last year of $26. And we got a low of 13 cents. Gee whiz. In, what is that? August of this year. So, yeah, we have dropped $25 in the last year, a huge drop. Now, after our drop, you can see, looking at our 200 haul, things are climbing. Yes, very slowly, very slowly. And our price is just sitting there in the middle, doing nothing, waiting for the haul to come up and tap it in the butt. So we're looking at a 200 squeeze here. That's all we got going. And you can see our price is just now getting on top of the 50. So we are here at 21 cents. Our 200 is up there at virtually $3. Do I think it's going to run that far? No, I really don't. But I've seen crazier things. And even if it doesn't run that far, what it would do would give you a stair step directly to it. It would go up, down, but just be beelining to it. So I'd be watching for that with this green bar, a rising 200 haul and a falling 200 MA. Absolutely. All of our technicals, let's see what we can see here. Goodness gracious. Very, very tight, but it looks like, wow. I do believe this is going up. Yes. Everything is just now starting to climb. And I realize it's not a lot of heat, but heat is better than no heat at all. And we've got a little heat, which means we're here early, right? Everything is just now starting. Coming on down to that 6-month, 4-hour view. Oh, poop. Can't see anything here except that big high right there. Now, what I'm going to try to do is zoom in right down here. Boy, zoom in again. Zoom in again. Okay, wow. So we are actually trying to rise up right now. You can see she's been going sideways. All of our MAs have been locked together here. Now they are starting to comb out. They're starting to spread out. They're starting to climb. We have a change in trend. We're not just ranging, going sideways. We are now starting to climb. Our bars are getting bigger. We're getting taller wicks. We're floating on our 9-day as we rise. We bounced off of the 20 with our wicks hitting the 250. This is a beautiful setup for a climb, folks, right? We are floating on the 9, bouncing off the 20 with our peg legs hitting on the solid 50 and 200 underneath. This is looking like it's ready to start going up. Everything on our oscillators are getting more strength. Everything is starting to push up. What we need is some volume right now. Come on down to our 1 hour 20-day. Ooh, there's your big M. That's a double top. M for murder. Murder because normally you get a drop at the bottom of your M. It can be a lot worse than that, though. Now, had this been a W, W for winner, that's called a double bottom. That would be rising at the end of the W. Here, it's almost a W. Not exactly, but it's real close. I'd be watching it because it's real close to being at that point. Let me see right there, right? We got a full cup. It's at least a cup. It could be a W. In either case, both are bullish. Both say this wants to rise. All of our MAs right now are climbing. You know what? I think we should call that bosom. That looks like bosoms to me, not a W. So these bosoms look like they're about ready to rise. All of our MAs are rising. Our 50 has got a golden cross over the 200 haul. It needs to get over that 200. Our 20 is climbing. Everything floating on the 9-day. This is looking good. I'm liking ATCH. Let's come on down to our 5-day, 5-minute. So we had a big fast drop here back up to our 200 and nothing was happening. Everything's locked up. You can't see any lines. You can't see any difference. Then right here, this is when things started to change. Our 200 started to rise. Our price started to rise. All of our MAs started to push away from the 200. We got ourselves a strong resistance right there at 25 cents, which is what she's hitting right now. We are at the top of that bowl. She is banging her head. Now look, you see how all of these bars are underneath. The solid bars are underneath. That tells me she's not ready to climb. We need a full bar. This bar started to go over, but most of the bar is still underneath. We need the entire bar on one side or the other side for a change to occur. This is trying to change and not being successful. Wicks, 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 but no solid bars. Back down to our 20. She likes to bounce off the 20. Full bars are on the 20. Wicks come down to the 250. We got wicks on the 20, which means there's still strength here. There's still strength. So this is looking good to me, folks. I like everything. Look at our volume. Our volume is getting stronger, stronger, and stronger. More volume coming into the picture. Oscillators are a little mixed. They're even, but they're trying to push up. So I'm going to put ATCH on my watch list. I think it belongs there. You may want to do the same thing. How are we doing over here? All good. Glad to hear that. Very good timing there, Jay. That was an old comment. Worked for me. Lineman. Hi, Wiz. Have to look at PFSA. Well, you know what? I just did one at the very top. It was the very first one on the list. It's 508. I'm not being mean here. I don't mean to skip anybody in the middle. You know, that's why I hate picking, because people take it personally, and I can't close my eyes and pick one. So I did the very top one. I'm going to do the very bottom one right now. So I am going to do PFSA, not for any reason except that one's at the top, one's at the bottom. High bubble, low bubble. That's all I'm doing. Okay. So we're going to look at PFSA over here. Hit my button. Yes, sir. PFSA. Pretty freaking stunning attitude. Pretty freaking stunning attitude. Prof USA, I guess that's the name of the company. Prof USA finished today at 46 cents, up 74% today, jumping almost 20%. Another hot penny stock in the major exchange. She's on the NASDAQ. Prof USA is engaged in the development of new generation bio-integrated sensors that potentially empower the individual with the ability to monitor their unique body chemistry. What? I'm not quite sure what this is. Let's see if the website gives us any ideas. He's thinking. What are we thinking about? Prof USA. Get CE mark approval. All right, that's their news. I don't want your news. Why did you just take me to the news? What the heck is going on here? About us. Let's see what we got here. Prof's mission is to make our body's chemistry easily accessible to improve health and wellness. We are dedicated to becoming a leader in the development of real-time biosensors that provide unprecedented insights into our overall health status. All right, I don't see any products here. It would be nice to see some products, like Mundra. Mundra's got that band that you hook up the Apple Watch to, and on the inside of the band, there are all sorts of sensors. They're reading your blood pressure, they're reading your temperature, they're reading all sorts of stuff, and it's going to the cloud, and it's doing all sorts of information with it. Now, I know that's good for people, but as far as I'm concerned, medical records used to be private. That was personal information. Now we're gathering information, throwing it into the cloud. One day your information will be public, and you'll never get that back. So to me, you're crossing over now. I know you're trying to help, but by golly, I don't like you having all the information about me. You know what time I take a poo? I don't like that. I like to have some privacy. Excuse me. So what was the relative volume around PFSA today? Holy cow, we better find a catalyst. She went from about 5 million average over the last 30 days to 278 million shares today. Holy cannoli. Share structure for this company. We got a decent share structure. Outstanding share count, 32 million. Don't know what the insiders own. Can't tell you what the float is. We just know it's not over 32 million, so it ain't bad. Market cap, 8.5 million. Excuse me. Financials for the company. We got nothing coming in. Maybe we have quarterlies. If there's money coming in, nope, that's not why they're running. Okay, so we've got no revenues whatsoever. Money in the bank. All right, let's not forget those 3 zeros up here. We have got $662,000 in the bank, only $1.9 million equity. That's it for the entire freaking company, $1.9 million. Oh, we got a lot of liabilities, though, about $23 million. And you know who's holding it? If they're not making any money, we're paying for it. We're the only ones that got money. So it's $22.5 million we're holding right now. Let's check out the disclosures, then we'll go check out the news. Pre-14A, this is normally about shares coming out, isn't it? And notice of a meeting. All right, I always get that confused. I do like to jump into these because if they're going to be talking about a shareholder split, stock split, or share increase or something like that, this is a heads up before it happens. That's the best time to learn about this stuff. Proposal 1, convertible notes, not interested. Proposal 2, increase in authorized shares. They're going to go from 100 million to 500 million. And those are the only proposals. No reverse stock splits to worry about here. And this one, Sept staff. Not familiar with that, but it did just come out the other day. And if you can't get them up like this, you normally have to go to the PDF to get it. Sometimes the HTML just doesn't work. You've redacted information from exhibits identified above. Oh, okay. All right, so this is a notice. They blocked some information that was not meant to be blocked, and they want to know how to fix it. That's what that's all about. And then an 8K, which isn't actually a material change. Submission of matters to vote on. So this is probably what we were just talking about there. At the close of meeting filed, record date. Yep, that's it. So this is all the same stuff going on right here. So let's go see if we can see what the catalyst is. This thing has jumped from 5 million shares to 278 million shares. There's the news from today, 9/11. Ooh, 9/11. Did anybody else think of that today when you heard 9/11? Right? Twin Towers? Egads. All right. Prof USA adopts NVIDIA-powered technology to build AI-driven insight portal for continuous biomarker monitoring. Whew. All right, let's see what we can gather up here quickly. The company expects early 2026 rollout in EEA physician portal. They combine Lumi oxygen monitoring with NVIDIA NeMo to deliver AI-driven clinical workflows. I don't know what I'm reading. It sounds good. It sounds very smart, but it's over my head. Let's see here. We believe that real-time biochemistry data across the large population is data set that is currently missing to enable the fulfillment of promise of AI-enabled improvement in health. So basically, we're just talking about guardrails by design. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. See here, they're talking about guardrails. Guardrails. Keeping your AI doing what it's supposed to do. Keeping your AI in its pen so it doesn't go wandering around doing stuff it shouldn't or learning stuff it shouldn't. Because once it learns something, it can't unlearn it. So we like to put guardrails around these things and keep them safe. So we've got AI that is working with NVIDIA and our body's health. Somehow they're bringing all this together, as everybody is right now, to benefit everybody, them, us. But again, this much information just scares me. I'm just speaking from my own mind. I don't like everything about me to be out there. You know, all my finances, you know, my love life, you know, my health, you know, where I live, you know, where I travel. I mean, I get bothered every time Google sends me a map of my moving around. Every 30 days, because I carry my phone, they show me everywhere I've went because I carry my phone. And it's like, egads, I am being watched, aren't I? So there we go. Prof USA has got big news with NVIDIA, AI, and health. And it's got to do with biomarkers for us. I don't understand it, but it sure sounds great. Let's go take a look at the chart for this company. Yep, that was a nice jump. Pre-market. Pays to get out of bed, doesn't it? Let's go back a year. Oh my God. All right, I'm going to get rid of my Fibonacci here. That's obviously old news. All right, so what we've got here, let me see. I bet if I go back a little bit further, we'll see that line go back even further. All right, this was a SPAC. A SPAC is a special purpose acquisition company. They are companies, investors that come onto the market with no business. They're not making any revenues. All they're doing is buying real estate. They get themselves the ticker up on the major exchange, and then they go looking for someone who wants to move in, somebody on the private market, somebody on a lower exchange, and they cut a deal with them, and they get a piece of the pie, and then those people move in, and voila, they're on the market. Well, that's what you had here. When the stock is not made a deal, a SPAC, the stock is at $10. You can buy it at $10. It's a speculative stock. You have no idea who they're going to do a deal with. So you buy them at $10. They're worth $10 until they close a deal. So you can push the price up like they did here to $12, or you can drop the price down. If the company does not close a deal in 18 to 24 months, you ready for this? You get all your money back. It's a money back guarantee with SPACs. I'm not lying to you. Check it out. They will give you back $10 for every single share you bought, regardless what you paid for your shares. That has nothing to do with it. They pay $10 back. So you can pay more or less, but they're worth $10. So when these stocks have news, it's the warrants that move because the stock is only worth $10. And the warrants will be down there at 3 cents, 5 cents, 10 cents, and they'll go to 70 cents, $1. Oh, yeah, they will, because this is big news. But once they close a deal, the stock goes live, and this is what happens a lot of times. As soon as they close the deal, you expect the stock to run because the first time you heard it, it took off. The next time you heard about them signing the deal, it was a pretty nice jump. Then when they close the deal, there's no jump. There's a drop. And that is par for the course. And she fell here from roughly $12 all the way down. Freaking jeez, 50 cents. God almighty. And she's been down there for a very, very long time, folks. Let's come on down to the 4-hour view. There's our drop. She had well, that was nice. Once our 50-day MA got close, she showed some spunk, right? She tried to break out, didn't do it, but she tried. Let's give her kudos for trying. Then she stayed down here for a very long time. Here comes our 200 now, finally in the picture, catches up to the price and nothing. Boo-hoo, stock's not interested in climbing right now. So it just laid down here and then it decided to jump. Now that's our 4-hour chart, not showing a whole lot to really work with. So let's come on down to our 1 hour and see if we see anything else. So we see she was going sideways, had a nice breakout here on a flat 200. Our 200 is falling here. It's working on going flat, and right there is where it went flat. That's when you get your breakouts on a flat or rising 200. She took a nice run from 47 cents up to 91 cents. Let's call that 100%, close enough, and came all the way back down to 40 cents and then dribbled down here to an ultimate low of 24 cents. Off of that, she jumped all the way up to 82 cents, over 300% run. Came all the way back down to our 9-day, and she's floating on that, sitting on that right now, above our 200, with all of our other MAs climbing. Combed out, spread out, pushing up. All of our oscillators, they're strong, but they're cooling off right now because things are cooling off. The price is falling after hours. Take a look at our 5-day, 15-minute. I'm going to grab my Fibonacci because that looks like it's dead center. Fibonacci will give me supports and resistances. You grab that and poke the top of your surge or your drop, any big move. Go from the top to the bottom. And if you're trying to go up, you'll have lines going up higher. If you do it from the other direction and go from the bottom up, all these extra lines go to the bottom and go down. So I always go from the top down and my extra lines go to the top up. So this tells me where the price is probably going to go. Fibonacci are magic numbers, folks. We can't explain why they work, but the universe uses the Fibonacci. The stars, or not the stars, seashells and flowers and toilet bowl water, they all use the Fibonacci. We have used the Fibonacci to figure out how many bees were going to be born so many generations down the line. We also used the Fibonacci to stop overbreeding of rabbits. I don't know how they do all that, but they do it. And we don't even know how the Fibonacci works. We just know it works. They're magic numbers that things attract to. They got magnetic personalities. Well, this ran up to 82, 50% is the halfway point. 55 cents is where she should have stopped falling if we wanted her to climb. She kept falling. When you come below the halfway point, you are in the red zone down here. She will continue to fall until she hits a strong MA usually. The 20 is not strong enough. You need a 50 or 200. She's coming on to the 50 and the 200 right now. So I'm presuming once she hits that, she's going to jump and she'll get up onto the 38. 38 is one of the Fibonacci's, the 50%, the 38%. The 38% is a launch zone. When she gets up onto that support right there, there's a very strong chance she'll start to run. When she gets over the 50%, she's putting it into the next gear, and she'll start to get some strength and move faster. So we're watching for this to hit on this spot here, and it's going to be moving, but it's going to be somewhere around 42, 43 cents, and I'm looking for a bounce to get up onto 50 cents and then start climbing. Quick gander at our 1 minute. Sideways activity. Dead nuts, right? What time is it? 5:24. And my voice is just now going. I think we made it. I think we made it. TJ, glad to have you show up. Better late than never, my friend. Thanks, old man. Have a good weekend. You can call me old man. That's okay. But really, I don't think I look bad for as old as I am. Very few wrinkles. And if I put on some weight, God, I wouldn't look old at all, except for the gray, right? Well, folks, I'm going to call that a day. My voice is about gone. Let me see here. Ban TikTok now, Trump. It's time to. And psychopaths celebrating, encouraging each other. You guys be talking about some wild stuff over here, don't you? I am glad to see all the new names over here. I'm glad to see the old names that I'm used to seeing. Thank you, folks. I appreciate you being here. You're the only reason I'm here, right? There is no other reason for me to be here. And I would be here if you weren't, but I'd feel awfully stupid doing it. I'm going to be here next week as well, as long as YouTube keeps me around. They have kicked me off before. Yeah, they said my videos were too dangerous, said they were harmful to the YouTube community. My videos. They actually took down how to set up TOS, said it was too difficult, too dangerous. So as long as YouTube keeps me, I'm going to keep coming back. So I'll be here next week, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Thursdays. And through the week, I'll be putting out videos on stocks I think are hot or sharing special information I think can help you. Thank you, folks. I love you. See you next week. Remember, the more you know, the more you're going to grow. Should I do my home alone? Yeah.